Welcome back to Landman Now, podcasting the profession, brought to you by the American Association of Professional Landmen. I'm your host, Chad Smith, and in today's episode of our Landman TV series companion podcast, we'll be covering season 2, episode 6 of Paramount's Landman, where we separate the fact from fiction and highlight the real work behind the drama. Joining the show today, we have Andrea Spencer and Drew Guntert. Thank you both so much for joining the show today. And before we get going, if you don't mind giving the audience a little bit of background on yourselves, Andrea, if you want to go first.
Sure. I'm Andrea. I'm the communications director for AAPL and NAPE here, and been here for going on, I guess, 20 years. Basically, managing editor for the magazines. We put out the Landman magazine and the NAPE magazine, and been on pretty much every facet of different departments within the association over my tenure here, and it's great. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And Drew?
I'm Drew Guntert. I'm the director of NAPE. Oversee a lot of NAPE operations and contribute to the NAPE projects. I've been here for 12 years. I'm a part of what the team puts together every February for the industry. Yeah, happy to be here, Jed.
No, thanks again for coming on. So, in this week's episode of Landman, we go to PBIOS, a expo that they feature on the show. But before we get too far into it, do want to clear something up. That is a real show, but the scenes for that show were not filmed at a real expo. So the people who are watching this may not know, but we were actually on set for this episode, and it was filmed here in Fort Worth, Texas. They built a production set to look like a conference, but it was not a real conference. So just so everybody knows, we're not critiquing a real event. We're just taking a look at what Hollywood's version of an industry expo looks like and using that as kind of a jumping off point to explain what actually happens at a conference like NAPE, a real industry conference. And so want to get into maybe some of the behind the scenes of what we saw, but also just kind of dissect what their version of an expo looks like versus what a real expo like ours looks like. So with all that said, let's talk about what the show is trying to depict before we compare it to the real thing. It looks like they have at their expo kind of a blend of what I would say multiple different industry shows. So from your perspective, what would you say their conference looks like versus what they're trying to portray versus a real conference would look like? And either of you, whoever wants to answer that first, I'm not gonna.
I thought they did a great job. I mean,
Yeah.
it was very realistic from what a typical like trade show type. I mean, you've got all the facets of people trying to present new technology to try to get you to their booth and give you a little tchotchke. They definitely had a lot of the elements that I would expect to see at an expo portrayed. The big booths, just trying to entice people to come into their booth and give them some information. I thought it was very believable.
Yeah, I think they did a good job. I mean, as we know, is that Freeman, Dallas-based company, produces a lot of industry shows, biggest in the world, and they produce NAPE, and they also produce the Permian Basin International Oil Show. And they brought Freeman in and exhibitors actually from that show to take and recreate their booth. So they did a good job. The Permian International Show is a lot bigger show than what we saw on set. Has a lot of outside and inside, which they recreated a kind of a scene for the inside, outside. It was nice that they invited NAPE and AAPL to take booths in there to kind of participate, being part of the industry, which was very fun. Yeah. And it was, we all worked the booths like we would work the booth for a trade show. Of course, we were pantomiming everything half the time. It was fun when they let us actually do the background noise. It was set up with the promotion, the Lucas Oil, NASCAR. Those things always have a place in trade shows. A little bit of fun, a little bit of variety, a little bit of entertainment. So they did a good view of an industry trade show. Of course, we know on APL and NAPE side is that there are a zillion different trade shows for every single discipline. That was, less of what we do, AAPL and NAPE and stuff. We more focus on upstream exploration. But it was definitely a good view of, what a show looks like, more of a hardware show, more of a for service and operators and everything like that. So they did a great job. They definitely did their homework, and I really did like that they actually did uh, a real show. I think that was cool, and kind of gives a nod to the industry and everybody that puts together those events and supports them.
Yeah, yeah. And so we talked about some of the things that maybe were realistic. Was there anything that you saw that you were like, oh no, that's just a they made a creative choice there for, for TV. Was there anything like that that stood out to you as you watched the episode?
Well, I've never been to the Permian show, so I can't, relate to that. This may be true, but I thought it was a little comical to see people coming right off of the, work site in their literally coveralls under a show. But I hear that's kind of everything goes at that show. But on our show, that would not be. Yeah, I'm sorry, our trade show, that would not be something that we would see. But I definitely thought that was it was interesting to see him right off the crew. They just walked right onto the set. But anyways, it was interesting. But um,
Yeah, Drew, is there anything that stood out to you?
You know, I don't. I don't know. The only thing that stood out to me is that we were on set and it was hot. There was a lot of people in full suits walking around in August outside. So I think that was a little bit different. I think it wasn't probably the audience couldn't really tell, but like they gave everybody characters like, you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be this, you're going to be that. There was a lot of disciplines that probably wouldn't have been at that show that they had characters represent, but it looked cool and it went with the show vibe. So that's kind of the only thing that kind of stood out to me is that when they were giving people their characters, I was like, nah, you wouldn't be at this show. And also some people that were missing. I was like, yeah, it would be more this person that would be at the show.
right.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people that weren't decision makers at that show that, it's
Yeah.
like, would I really have sent someone to that show, just to walk around, look at it, or if I'm a company, I would probably want to pay my decision makers to go and make, be looking at the equipment. But, that was but it made for a good, a conversation because they were worried about losing their jobs,
Yeah.
technology taking over. So
So visually, I mean, it looks like on the episode, it looks like a pretty busy floor, right? Like it looks pretty crowded and everything. But functionally, what parts of a real conference do you think were missing versus what they kind of staged for the camera?
well, a big component of our show would be education. So, I think we would missing a conference if it's going to be you want to have some other element besides just the networking and meeting vendors on the floor. So I think that's something that a good mix of people. It was definitely present, but I think having another element to the show besides just the booths was missing.
Yeah, I think it would have been cool if they would have mixed in like an actual industry keynote in there and had
Right.
some
Right.
footage of that, or somebody giving a pretty dramatic speech in the middle of it and stuff in a separate area would have been a good fit for that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I so before we get too far away from it, I mean, I know I touched on it a moment ago where we were actually on set for that, which was really cool, and it was definitely a fun experience. But as you were walking onto the set, and we walked into that big building where they were, I guess their stage, right, to film that. What immediately jumped out to you as being different from, I mean, obviously outside of like the film crew and everything, what jumped out to you as being different from an expo like NAPE?
Well, an expo like NAPE, I mean, of course, it's not going to have like the hardware, the gloves, the workwear and everything like that. NAPE is going to be more softwares. I mean, of course, the majority of the show is going to be exploration companies showing prospects. It's going to be a lot more bulletin boards with with geoscience on it.
Maps. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's going to be a lot more of those things, and that's like I said, that's our niche. That's where we serve the industry. We do get a few of those vendors in there every once in a while that kind of hear about NAPE and want to give it a try, and they usually do actually pretty well. Just because there's so much crossover in the industry. People work in exploration, but then also a lot of engineers also have to go and make sure that this stuff is feasible. And then NAPE gets a lot of partnerships through operators and stuff through IPAA and everything like that, who are also in charge of making sure that they have the materials and the workwear and hardware to drill. So, there were some things in there that were different in there, but NAPE is probably going to be more where, you know, Tommy is looking around for their next deal.
Right. Well, and there was elements that reminded me of Nate too. There was, he walks in and he's talking to the vendor and he wants the hot sauce, and there's those
That's a good
exhibitors
one.
that have like the tchotchke every year or whatever it is, and it's like, oh, I got to get that from so and so, and I think that's really cool about Nape is, trying to get some good swag and what's going to be the, but that's one of those things he remembered. Oh, I want to get your hot sauce, so that reminded me of Nape because I always have my go-tos of who I want to go see. I think everybody else does as well.
I'm always on the hunt for a good hat.
Exactly, right? I
Always on
know.
the hunt for a good hat.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
do. I do a game every single year at NAPE because I wind up walking the trade show floor more times than I can remember and stuff. And I've stopped taking a lot of tchotchkes years ago. But I look for the best pin. What is
Mhm.
the very best quality pin? And I just take one pin from some exhibitor every single year, and that's my NAPE souvenir every single year.
and
You
some
know?
of these booths actually have some pretty good little tchotchkes given away too. So
Oh, it is, yeah.
Um, was there anything detail wise, whether it be like a booth, signage, wardrobe, anything like that that surprised you with how accurate it felt compared to our show?
Well, I thought the signage was the signage for that show. I mean, it was the drape that they did, it was their colors, it was their theme. They went to Freeman and the show, from what I was told, and got all their stuff. So that was the real deal. All their stuff created by the producer of that show. So I thought that was cool that they did it like that.
Down
And
to the
like,
name badges. I mean, you
yeah,
got
down to the name
lanyards, name
badges. Yeah,
badges, yeah.
yeah.
I know when we were walking off set, I so badly wanted them to forget to ask me for my name badge back. I wanted to keep that souvenir, but they
No,
were
I
good.
took a pin.
Oh, there you go.
I was like,
Uh,
no one's gonna miss this.
And what was something that you think viewers would never catch on screen that stood out to you as something that who's worked the expo floor or something that was like, oh man, that is so realistic. Like they did a great job capturing that aspect.
I think the one thing that they did a good job of was was just kind of the were kind of the interactions and stuff that people have in the booth and everything like that, the handshakes. Uh, it's always funny too because you see people and the eye contact and like, oh, are they going to come in and talk? Like, are they interested? Kind of looking through and also being in the scene in person. I was like, this feels about like the real thing.
Yeah, and so talking about the real thing on the show, and as you kind of mentioned, deals start with chance encounters. At NAPE, how do deals really begin? Is it more planned meetings and long-term relationships, or is it just, hey, I bumped into this guy and we all of a sudden started talking, and I think there's a great deal here?
It's both. I mean,
Yeah.
it's yeah. I think originally it was such a new concept that the deals were right there in the booth and everything like that. But now it's become kind of a week in Houston where there are tons of meetings around NAPE. People plan a lot of different things from parties, private parties, to participating in the parties that we hold at NAPE. So I've heard millions of stories. I mean, if you're going to bring a prospect, you're going to take a booth, you're going to do it, you're going to submit it to the show guide, you're going to do the prospect preview, you're going to really do it up and pretty much take every resource that we give to a prospect person. There's that avenue. But I know people that don't take a booth and don't show anything. And they're looking just for that handshake and that conversation. And then there are always chance encounters. When you put that many people in one room and, the emphasis is on networking and talking, it happens in a million different ways.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have people who have, an agenda of who they want to see when they go to NAPE, but then there's always, someone's looking for something. There's always, so it's a nice, healthy mix. And just some like you said, some people that just need to fly their flag, like, hey, we're relevant, we're here, and come talk to us. But yeah, you've got a good mix of everyone that's got, an agenda to I'm looking for the next thing, and they don't know what they don't know what they were looking for. So it's a great place.
And a lot of stuff on NAPE in the last few years, it's us also working with committee and bringing new ideas and new energy sources for people to start considering and planting the seed. To the Bitcoin, to the minerals market, which has gotten huge, to a lot of different things. Coming up this year to AI power center needs, critical minerals, a lot of new exploration types that people may not are kind of at the beginning of it, but NAPE embraces and kind of brings to the public light that this is work that we're all going to have to start working on.
Yeah, and we see kind of on that show floor in the show, the guy's trying to get him to go out and look at a demo and this and that, and he's like, I'm just looking. But how often do you see deals actually close at NAPE? So obviously there's tons of deals to be had. How often does a deal actually get closed at NAPE?
Quite a bit, quite a bit. I mean, we have the signs that we get to put out, sold, which is always really cool. I loved hearing the stories of the people who they build it from the ground. This is the whole prospect, and then they get it all ready to sell, and then they take it, and then they sell it. It's really a neat story to kind of see unfold in real time. So yeah, it happens more than you think. So yeah.
And Drew, I think we mentioned this earlier, but the show shows like a bunch of different kind of backgrounds mixing into one event. How accurate is that compared to the actual mix of professionals that we have at NATE?
I think it is a lot of background. I mean, I look at the numbers and stuff. So, NAPE is going to be a lot of land, finance. You're going to have, salespeople for the booths and everything like that. So you're going to have, industry services. You're going to have, your geoscience. And then, we do get a lot of engineers in there as well. It's just, yeah, it's definitely a mix. And then also too, I think I like just to see the ones that are showing up that we haven't even completely thought about. I mean, that's kind of how the Bitcoin miners started coming into NAPE, and just different ones that we see every single year as we look through the registration lists and what their discipline and their survey results and everything. So, I've had a lot of midstream people come into NAPE just because they say, hey, I want to forecast the industry for the next few years. And if I can see what's being developed in the projects at NAPE, I can kind of understand what regions we need to service more than others. I've seen you see everything in NAPE.
Well, and the bankers and the attorneys that are looking to help seal it
Yeah.
all, together. So yeah, it's it's a wide group.
And so how would you say where NAPE's value comes in for relationship building versus immediate deal making? I mean, I know that obviously people want to go and sell a deal, but I think there's a lot of opportunity for the networking aspect of NAPE that's just as big, if not bigger, than just selling a prospect.
Yeah, I think I mean it's huge. I mean, you make connections at these things. I know industry shows that I go to, like, you know, OTC and images and some ones like that too, is that I always make connections that now I've had for decade. I mean, it's just amazing. Like, these relationships, if you service them and you're open, you really bump into some people that can be assets to you in your career, and you can be assets to them. I mean, it is a really great place to extend your network, and it really is valuable to you as a professional personally, but it's also value to your organizations. When you come in and you have those relationships with different, companies, producers, vendor service providers, uh, you know, government contacts. I mean, it is a big asset. It's great for planning. It's great just to have that network. And, it's harder and harder as, some of us work remote, some of us are in and out of the office. It's a great place once a year to connect and meet a lot of contacts.
Well, I think the survey responses are also about almost half of people come are there to network. I mean, it's a huge component for people. It's not just, networking. That's what they're going there for, is to keep those networks alive so that they can make those deals when they or they need someone to come work on a project. They have that relationship there and they can lean on that. So
And so, for someone who has seen the show, but again, they're new to NAPE and things like that, what is like kind of like the selling point you would say for, hey, come to NAPE because it's the place for this?
NAPE is an amazingly well established event in the industry. And I think if you're working in upstream exploration, um, like we've talked about, the networking is amazing. The trade show floor is always bustling. And it's also, too, the biggest component, too, is the education. It's a great touch point, and we really try to make everything current, where it's very purposeful. Sometimes you go to an industry show and it's a lot of ideas and stuff, but we really theme ours to deal making, and it's not so much a trade show or an event or a conference. It's more of an industry resource. Is that the first day we're going to do the conference, it's going to be a lot of education, but all of that education is geared to making sure when you go on the trade show floor and you look at assets, that you can actually have firsthand knowledge from experts the day before to go and look at those assets in a new light and be up to date on everything you need to do business. And I think that's what I like about NAPE is, for all the events out there, it always feels like the most purposeful to me.
yeah, and I mean it starts your year out, right? So you go and you
Mhm.
get a pulse for like what's going to happen this year, and everyone's going to be there, and you can actually you can get that sense. So it's great for planning and just yeah, it's where you need to be and get your year straight and get your projects in order for what you want to accomplish. So yeah, it's a great one-stop shop.
And but before we get towards the end here, I do want to say, like, kind of give the audience a little bit of a background on how NAPE has evolved from being more conventional oil and gas into some of the midstream and minerals with renewable topics as well now.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that NAPE is an industry mix show. I mean, big focus is always on land, and that profession is so versatile. And all of these E&Ps have, really, really ventured into all these different energy sources. And NAPE always has to be a reflection of the industry. And especially too, is that we always have to service our clients. A lot of the E&Ps, if they're doing this work, we also need to develop programming. And the NAPE operators committee is made of those E&Ps. So we work with committee to kind of develop ideas, and the committee does a great job of developing of what the work that is coming into their companies, and then we can reflect that into NAPE and make sure that we're bringing that content to the whole industry. And I think one of the big things too is that you have companies of all different sizes, and I think at NAPE we give a great value and great speakers of people and consultants and stuff that you can come in and watch a 45-minute talk and learn a lot of stuff, especially if you're a smaller operator. You get a lot of top tier content and knowledge that may be a little unattainable throughout the year.
Yeah, and it used to be, I mean, gosh, my first name was like 22 years ago. And it was like, international work was over here, and then there was domestic oil and gas, and it was very like, separate. And now it's, everyone's doing so many different aspects of the business that it's now all integrated, and it just works really well because you can have conversations with someone in Australia right next to someone, in all the different countries and domestically, and just kind of be able to see what they're all offering. And it's great to have that variety just kind of mixed in. So whether in renewables or traditional oil and gas, it's all there mixed in. So it's a great atmosphere.
Yeah, it's become a place where you can catch a lot more than just one section of the industry.
Mhm.
Okay, so before we wrap up, I got a couple kind of more fun questions that I wanted to ask you guys. So after working obviously for NAPE and being on the set of Landman, what is harder? 3 full days on the NAPE Expo floor or one day of shooting on the set of Landman?
Ooh.
Oh man, definitely NAPE, but it's a close second. Like,
Pretty good.
yeah, I mean, we got there early. I mean, we parked and got on the shuttles at what, like 6?
It was a
And
12-hour
they,
shoot. I was,
yeah.
yeah,
And then they, like, around 3 o'clock, when they're like, okay, that's the halfway mark, I was like, oh
yeah.
no. I was
Yeah.
like, I have to go pick my kids up. I was like, and it was like, and there's no leaving. Like, so it was different. I was just very thankful that we were on the inside
It was hot. Yeah.
shoots, and when they said everybody go outside, I was like, but they're like, you guys stay, and I was like, thank you, thanks a lot.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a 12-hour shoot versus NAPE is around 15 hour and 16-hour days. It's a little longer, but I think yeah, it was very similar. I do think we get nicer padding, I think, on our floor, at NAPE, which helps the feet. But our food is definitely better at NAPE, I will say. But no, it was a fun, it was very fun, but very similar aspects of walking a trade show and being on your feet all day. Yeah.
Yeah. It was hot and it was long, but it was
Hmm.
fun. It was definitely, and I'm very thankful for the production team to reach out to us and give us that opportunity. And it was fun to see our element, right? And
Right.
see how they kind of reproduce that on the screen. And then the waiting to see if we made the cut. And Andrea, you and I actually made this the smallest
Nice,
little
nice cut.
There's the smallest little cut. You can see all of Andrea. You can see about 9/10 of my face. And
Not enough to get a credit at the end, but
no, no. I have to. I'm gonna withhold my IMDb page,
yeah.
but it was fun.
No, I
Okay, and
wish
then
I would have gone rogue more and got out of the booth and just really tried to get into the shots.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would have that well, maybe that would have worked, but I don't know. There was a couple guys that I saw on the show that I remember seeing
Oh
and
yeah, absolutely.
on the set and
Absolutely.
being like, oh, that guy's definitely gonna make it on the.
Mhm.
Okay, and last question. If Hollywood were to ever write a scene specifically about Nape, what is one moment you'd want to make sure they get right?
Well, I'll tell you the one thing they're missing on that show, and I think they could remedy this at NAPE, is women there are some amazing female landmen out there, and not just landmen, but just oil and gas professionals in general or energy professionals, and definitely they would need to get that right. It would be great to see that fixed, but also at NAPE they would see it. I mean, there's a lot of women in all of the areas, and it would be nice to see them represented in a professional capacity, not as a booth babe, because we definitely we have lots of women that need to be seen as energy professionals. So that would be great. Would be great.
Man, I think NAPE applied the show. I think, you see an MTEX booth as an EMP booth, maybe a sponsor on the main aisleway. But then maybe you see like Andy Garcia's Capital had a Capital booth, and he's kind of
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
people just asking him a lot of questions. where's this money coming from?
Yeah.
I think that would be a cool translation to NAPE is, is more the prospecting portion of it. Maybe, Cooper there with all of his leases all put together, packaging them up would be a cool one to see at NAPE.
I mean, the scene is writing itself. Paramount, what are you doing? Come on, get Nape on the show. We'll do whatever you need. Just get a scene for Nape there.
Make it happen.
Would be cool. It could definitely happen.
Well, good deal. Well, so if in case anybody's interested in attending NAPE, what you want to give everybody the kind of the dates and what they would need
Yeah.
to know, where they need to go?
So, easiest place to go, napexpo.com always has all the information, all the scheduling, everything like that, all the quadrillion events that will be during those 3 days. So, February 18th through the 20th, we're later in the year this year. So, that'll be nice for everybody coming off the first of the year. And if you're interested in NAPE, I got a promo code for $75 off, AAPL 75. So we would love to have you all in Houston.
Absolutely. Andrea, any parting words for the audience?
You know what? I'm just really excited about this year. I mean, we have so many new elements. Every year we try to add something, just to make it bigger and better. And I think we've got some really exciting things happening this year. Not to mention the grand prize giveaway, which, is something not to be missed. It's the biggest one we've ever given away. And it's very exciting. So for the small price of admission, you can be entered to win. Go ahead, Drew. You want to tell them about the giveaway, the Ineos, the Trial Master.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
so
So
we'll
I
be
think that's
giving away
something
an
that,
Indios Trial Master,
yeah, it's
which
amazing.
is
So we're
very
excited.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And as we all know, as Ineos is an upstream company that operates all over the world. So it's very cool that we'll be giving away a vehicle that is actually by an energy company, which I think is the first of its kind.
yeah, it's awesome. So
By the industry for the industry.
there you go.
So no, I think that's definitely the coolest giveaway. And who knows, maybe one of our listeners will win it. If you are a listener listening to this and you win it, please let us know and we'll interview you for the
Bring
podcast.
you on the pod. Yeah.
I think that'd be pretty cool. So maybe we'll get a future guest off of that. Okay, well, cool. Anything else that you guys wanted to mention before we sign off? All right. Well, hey, thanks so much for joining today and kind of breaking down the expo of the Landman show versus the real life NAPE expo. So, with that being said, this wraps up this episode of Landman Now, podcasting the profession. Thanks for listening. A big thank you to Andrea and Drew for joining the show today. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. You can learn more about APL, our resources and membership opportunities by visiting landman.org. And until next time, I'm Chad Smith, and this has been Landman Now, podcasting the profession.